Well, one of the biggest items in the news this last week was an announcement of yet another merger of mega corporations. AT&T, the phone company, is going to merge with Time Warner, the entertainment company, for lack of a better term. These are two mega corporations, among the biggest already in their industries, and so this will make a mega corporation where there used to be just two megas. What does this do? What is this about? Well, this is called the problem of monopoly. It is as old as capitalism, because it turns out that the capitalist system has built into it mechanisms which we call competition. We like to talk about competition, but we are hesitant most of the time to ask and pursue the question, where does competition lead? And it turns out that competition leads to its own extinction. Competition wipes itself out and becomes instead monopoly. In other words, if two or more companies compete, one of them makes a better product, or one of them lowers the price, or if they're really good, they can make a better product at a lower price, and that destroys the business of who their competitors were. Where there were many companies, those who do the best job at lowering the price and or improving the quality of the work, they win. And typically the winner in competition eats the loser. That is, the loser goes out of business. The people who worked for the losing company now look for jobs in the company that won. The people who supplied the losing company look for customers in the companies that won. And so the many become few. We're familiar with that, all of us who pay attention. We know that there are very few car companies in the world, and very few cigarette companies, and very few fill-in-the-blank companies. Capitalism leads to monopoly. Why? Well, by the way, monopoly is not the only thing capitalism leads to in this way. It will often lead to a situation where there isn't one company left standing, but maybe a handful, a small number. The kind of small number where they can get together legally or illegally, publicly or privately, and work things out amongst them. Something much harder to do if there are hundreds, let alone thousands of companies. When you have just a few and they can control the situation, we call that an oligopoly rather than a monopoly when there's literally only one left. So what's the point? The reason companies merge is it's profitable. It's a way to be able to charge higher prices because having merged with the company that might have competed with you, you control them and they will not compete with you anymore because you've literally absorbed them. You're now the decision maker, they're not. And that's what I want to focus on. When AT&T and Time Warner merge, if they pull it off, if the government permits it, and that means ultimately if you and I permit it, then where we once had two boards of directors, two groups of 20 people, and the big shareholders that stood behind them, we will now only have one. Oligopoly mergers like this reduce the number of people from the already small minority that control our economy to an even smaller one. The shareholders of the combined company will be richer. They will select a board of directors that will now preside over the lives and fortunes of many more people than either of the two boards of directors of AT&T and Time Warner separately had been able to do. This is the concentration of economic power in a society where economic power is already concentrated. It's a little bit like my having to report to you that the inequality of the United States was actually becoming worse, that the people at the top were using their wealth to become even wealthier, to widen the gap between rich and poor. And here we see the same thing going on in this capitalist system that pushes in that direction. Is it happening across the board? Yes, it is. Let me just read off to you a list of some of the mega giants planning to merge or already underway. Walgreens and Rite Aid, Alaska Air and Virgin America, Dow Chemical and DuPont. Well, all of this brought to my attention a recent paper, Evidence for the Effects of Mergers on Market Power and Efficiency. Here's why this paper is interesting. First, typically, people who propose mergers, like AT&T and Time Warner, want us to all get excited about how much more efficient they'll be. They can save on work and they can save on duplication, and they will be so much more efficient. The critics usually say, yeah, but they're going to have a lot more market power and they're going to use it to jack up our prices and make more money off of us. So these scholars looked into that. Basically, their findings are the following. Having looked at many mergers, using careful techniques of analysis over a long period of time, bottom line, it didn't do much for efficiency, but it did do a lot for market power. In plain English, mergers are not about becoming more efficient. Mergers are to make one company more powerful than the two were separately before, so they can jack up the prices and make more profits off of us, which is why we have opposed them throughout our history, although the companies have figured out how to get around those regulations as well.